Several years ago, my husband and I went to another couple's house for dinner. We were great friends and we usually stayed over for hours and hours, and the time always flew by when we were together, to the point that sometimes we ended up saying goodbye at 4 or 5 in the morning. On this particular night, our friends told us that another couple would be there too. Imagine my surprise when it turned out that I knew the guy, Tony. We had been friends in my early 20s, but he distanced himself from me when I turned him down and I hadn't seen him in years. Tony introduced his girlfriend to us. I'll just call her Carmen, and we had dinner and chatted. Carmen was extremely quiet. It was the first time she had met any of us. Tony, on the other hand, seemed to have something to prove, because he spent all of dinner talking about his paranormal experiences, and how sensitive he is, and how he has helped people because he can sense what's wrong with them. Everyone present, including me, has had extensive paranormal experiences. Long story short, the night dragged and I developed a crushing headache. After what felt like an eternity, I begged my husband to go home and he jumped on the idea. We had a huge surprise when we got into the car and saw that barely 2 hours had gone by. The drive home was torture. I had just one thought in my head: our cat is dead. I just knew it. But I also knew that it wasn't true. It felt like something or someone was shoving that idea into my head and forcing me to believe it. I spent the last part of the drive holding back tears. That's how intense the feeling was. Our cat was fine, thank goodness. The worst thing came later when we were in bed. Even years later, I still can't say for sure if I was awake or if it was a dream. Someone hovered over me and just ripped me out of my body. The pain was so horrific. I was screaming and gasping, but no sound was coming out. I could see what I'll call my soul being pulled out of me. For a moment I was paralyzed, but then I could move my arm, and as I tried as hard as I could to wake my husband up. I barely had any strength to brush my hand against him. I tried screaming his name, but I couldn't even whisper. I fought back with everything I had, because I felt that if I didn't, I was definitely going to die. Then it just stopped, and I passed out until morning. The following few days were dark and heavy. I lost my appetite and fell into a deep depression. After maybe 3 or 4 days of this, my friend from the other night called. She asked me, "Are you okay?" And I told her the truth. She confessed that she was going through the exact same thing, minus the soul ripping. And she had called me because she sensed we were both in the same boat. A few days later, the dark oppression vanished and we were both fine and eating again. I had little to no idea what had happened. I had the feeling that maybe Tony had unwittingly saturated us when our defenses were down. My friend had a different version, and she was adamant about it. The culprit for our despair had been Carmen, and she had done it completely on purpose and out of jealousy. It turns out my friend could feel her doing something, giving off some sort of energy the entire night. I guess I believe that explanation. I don't know. The men were completely unaffected. Needless to say, I have never again seen Tony or Carmen, and don't intend to.